Is this the conman who tricked you into...
Most people in the UK have never heard of Aberystwyth. And honestly, most people back home probably haven't either. When people think about moving abroad, they imagine places like London. Fast cities, bright lights, crowded streets, a life that feels constantly in motion. But somehow, we ended up here, in a small coastal town in Wales, where the mountains meet the sea, where the rain arrives without warning, and where some days feel so quiet, it almost feels like the edge of the world. And if I'm honest, at first it was difficult, because moving abroad changes more than just your location. It changes your routines, your identity, your sense of familiarity. Even ordinary things start to feel unfamiliar. The grocery stores, the weather, the silence, the way people speak, the pace of life. Back home, life always felt loud. There was always movement, always noise, always someone nearby. But here, there are moments where the streets become so still. You can hear nothing except the wind and the sea. At first, that silence felt uncomfortable. Now, sometimes we search for it. I still remember our first evenings here. The sky was grey. The rain had just stopped. The streets were nearly empty. And for a moment, standing near the ocean, it felt like we had accidentally wandered into another world. That's the strange thing about Aberystwyth. It doesn't reveal itself immediately. This isn't the kind of place that tries to impress you instantly. It grows on you slowly, through small moments. Morning walks along the coast, watching storms roll in from the sea, quiet grocery runs at the various stores, the warmth of cafes on cold evenings, the familiar faces you start to recognize over time. And somewhere in between all those ordinary moments, life here started feeling less temporary. I think one of the hardest parts about moving abroad is the loneliness nobody talks about. People see the photos, the landscape, the adventure, but they don't always see the moments in between. The moments where you miss home unexpectedly, where certain smells remind you of home, where a simple phone call can completely change your mood. Sometimes you can be surrounded by beautiful scenery and still feel completely out of place. And I think that's something many immigrants understand deeply. You exist between two versions of yourself, the person you used to be and the person you're slowly becoming. For a while, it feels confusing, like your life exists in two different worlds at the same time. But maybe that's part of starting over. Maybe belonging doesn't happen all at once. Maybe it happens quietly, slowly, over time. And strangely enough, this small town in Wales started teaching us that, because life here moves differently. People take their time, the days feel slower, the evenings feel longer, and nature is impossible to ignore. Back home, it felt normal to always be rushing somewhere. But here, the sea forces you to slow down. The weather slows you down, the silence slows you down, and eventually, you start noticing things you would have ignored before. The sound of waves late at night, the colors of the hills after it rains, the comfort of warm lights inside cafes during winter, how peaceful an ordinary walk can feel. It's strange. We came here expecting to adapt to a new place, but somehow, this place started changing us. And maybe that's why places like Aberystwyth stay with people, not because they're loud, not because they're famous, but because they quietly become part of you. If someone had told us years ago that we would one day build a life in a quiet Welsh coastal town, we probably wouldn't have believed them. But life has a strange way of leading people exactly where they need to be, even if it's somewhere they never expected. And although there are still days when this place feels isolated, there are also days where it feels peaceful in a way that's difficult to explain. But sometimes, starting over in an unfamiliar place doesn't just change where you live. Sometimes it changes who you become. And little by little, Aberystwyth is starting to feel like home. One thing that surprised us the most was the kindness of the people here. They often greet you warmly, cashiers remember your face, neighbors smile at you while walking past, strangers help you without hesitation. And maybe, in bigger cities, moments like that feel small. But when you're far from home, those moments stay with you. They make a place feel softer, safer, more human. Another thing we slowly fell in love with is how connected life here is to nature. The beach is never too far away. Some days, after a stressful afternoon, we'll walk down to the seafront just to breathe for a few minutes. And somehow, watching the waves, the cliffs, and the endless horizon changes your mood almost instantly. There's something deeply calming about living so close to the sea, especially during sunset. The entire town starts to glow differently. The water reflects the sky, the hills become darker, and for a moment, everything feels cinematic. And despite being a small town, Aberystwyth has a surprising amount of opportunity and access to facilities that genuinely improve life here. Aberystwyth University adds a unique energy to the town. Students from different countries, backgrounds, bring life into the community, making the town feel international in its own quiet way. The university facilities are also incredibly accessible. The gym, the sports center, the swimming pool, these spaces become more than just places to exercise. They become part of your routine, part of your adjustment, part of building a life here. And then there's the National Library of Wales, a place that feels almost hidden in plain sight. The building itself feels timeless. Quiet corridors, endless shelves, history preserved carefully inside stone walls overlooking the town. Even if you're not a researcher or an academic, there's something quite inspiring about knowing a place like this exists. It reminds you that this small coastal town carries far more depth than people expect. That's what makes this journey worth sharing, not because everything is perfect, but because real life abroad is rarely perfect. It's messy sometimes, lonely sometimes, beautiful in ways we never expected. And if you've ever felt caught between places, between old versions of yourself and the new ones still forming, maybe you'll understand exactly what we mean. There are moments where we still miss home deeply. Certain foods, certain sounds, certain people. But there are also moments now where walking through Aberystwyth feels strangely familiar, like the town has slowly made space for us, one quiet day at a time. And I think that's one of the most unexpected parts of moving somewhere new. Eventually, the unfamiliar starts becoming part of your story. So wherever you're watching from, whether you're dreaming about moving abroad, starting over somewhere new, or simply curious about life in this small corner of Wales, thank you for being here with us. Sharing these moments somehow makes this place feel even more meaningful. And honestly, we are still figuring things out ourselves, one day at a time. If you'd like to follow the journey, see more of life here in Aberystwyth, and experience the beauty of Wales with us, make sure to subscribe and come along for the next chapter. There's still so much more we want to explore, share, and discover together. This is Travel in Tales.